Hey guys, welcome to another video of Assess Bushcraft and Survival. I'm Bushcraft.
And I'm Survival. And today, Bushcraft's going to come up with a scenario and we're going to both discuss how we'd handle it.
Okay, I just thought, since this is the first one of these videos that we're putting out there, something that's pretty simple to explain would be good. Let's imagine you're out there, you've decided to go camping casually with some mates. Let's just say there's a group of 4 of you. Sounds good. You're going out on a recommendation from one of the guys that's in your group, but to you it's unknown.
Yep.
Yeah. It's out in the bush. It's in Australia. That's perhaps important. It's going to be an area that is a good distance away from local towns.
Yep.
Yeah. You've gone out with basic necessities. You guys both have. You guys got a couple of tents. You've got. You've each got a pack, and inside that you've got some various items that you might be travelling with in general.
Yep. So a good 72-hour kit contents, really.
Yeah. I would say that.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I'd be going out with. And then you and your buddy, who don't know the area, have decided that one day you've gotten there, maybe you're there for a couple of weeks, you've decided that you're going to go and have a bit of an explore of this new area. So you and he have packed a little something together.
Yep.
You've gone out, you've told the guys you'll be out later that day, and then
He's fallen
something's happened.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was
Okay.
going to say it's a little bit mountainous. He's taken a fall, and he's perhaps wrecked his ankle, so he's not really able to put pressure on it, and he needs your help, and you guys got to get back to camp and affect survival.
Yep. Approximately how far has he fallen? Is it something that we'll likely be able to get to with the cordage we take bush, or so approximately 15 meters per length, and we can join several to make much longer line, or is this something where we'd need emergency assistance?
No, I'm going to say he's fallen maybe 5 meters down.
Okay. Yep.
Something like that. So it's maybe not even 3 to 5 meters. It's a hefty fall. He looks like he's pretty grazed and bung up, but all in all, he's got consciousness.
Yep.
And he's able to articulate various points of information to tell you that he doesn't seem like he's too concussed or anything like that. But if he does try and to put any weight on his ankle, he's having a lot of trouble. With that.
Okay, so his back's not badly injured?
No, he seems to have full mobility.
Okay, because I was going to say that would otherwise complicate the scenario.
Oh, absolutely. Something simple, mate.
Okay, so it's just his ankle's buggered, he's sore, a bit grazed and a little bloody.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I would pull out of my pack one of the numerous lengths of paracord I have. Each length is about approximately 50 feet, which is about 15 meters.
Yep.
And so I'll run from one length an entire static line the entire way, and any excess can just collect at the bottom.
Yep.
I will then grab another line, which is one that I specifically have in my pack because I cut from it regularly. I'll cut 2 loops, and I will basically attach them to the static line as a prusik, allowing me to descend to my mate in order to get down to further help him. At the same time, I will use another line tied to my pack so that I can lower my pack ahead of myself, so I have my supplies and first aid kits with me. I'll also have any food, because there will always be some DIY, MRE, ration packs, as we've shown how to make on our channel. And I have my entire, effectively, mess kit, which includes a spirit burner stove.
Yeah, nice.
So first thing I'll do when I get down there is I'll take some water out of the water bladder in my pack, and I'll put that into one of the pots that comes with my spirit burner camp stove. I'll start my spirit burner camp stove and start boiling that water to ensure it's sterile, as his wounds will need some irrigation, and it's better to ensure that the water is sterile and slightly warm, because who wants to be throwing cold water onto a wound that already hurts? Cold shock isn't fun. I would also be pulling out of my pack some disinfectant. So you can get that as either a cream or as a liquid. We keep a cream one in, which we can rub in to help disinfect the wounds. and basically act as a wound irrigation.
Yep.
I also have a plastic vial of wound irrigation solution in the first aid kit, allowing me to flush any unnecessary or unwanted bad bits and dirt and dust and pebbles, really tiny fragments of pebbles and such, out of wound.
Yep.
So wound irrigation. Then once I've done that, it'll be apply some more disinfectant cream and then dress the wound, which will involve a standard dressing followed by a bandage to hold it in place.
Yep. Okay.
Finally, now I'll actually look at attending to his ankle, because his ankle was only effectively sprained or bruised. It wasn't anything too bad, because he wouldn't have been calmly talking to me in a bit of pain if it was worse. So now we just immobilise with a moderately tight wrap, tight enough that it holds it still and helps reduce and limit swelling, but loose enough that it keeps the circulation going. That's essential, guys. There's no point making your buddy lose his foot. You won't thank you for it. Then I'll find a stick that can be broken in half and basically form a splint either side of the ankle to take the movement out of the leg, because at the ankle, by immobilising the foot and keeping the joint steady, you're less likely to cause further inflammation and pain. Now, if that's dealt with, I'm going to quickly cook up a little bite to eat for my mate, because one of the best ways to help avoid shock is to get your brain occupied on something else. Plus, after an incident like that, and having gone into a bit of shock, I personally always find being able to rehydrate and have a little bit of energy back in my body really does help with the recovery process, because he's going to have quite a bit of movement he's going to have to undertake very soon, because we can't leave him where he is, because we know there's a huge storm front coming and we have no shelter or protection in the spot where we are. We have a tarp, but we have nothing to string it up to. This is what you find in Australia very common, is effectively like a stepped cliff. So you've got land, a cliff, land, a cliff. It's got that very much semi-stepped, and then you could have, after a couple steps, a sudden drop off that goes for 100 meters, and we're effectively on that first step from the very top, so we can't stay there. We're too exposed. It's just not survivable. So in order to get around that, it's a very simple solution. I have to carefully raise him on the prusik with one of his feet immobilised. Now, this will be possible because he's only about 3 to 5 metres down. However, it will involve first ascending myself after tying my pack onto its line again, pulling my pack up, then lowering that line, pulling his pack up, then it's lowering that line again, but this time with a prusik loop put into the end of it as a handhold. And what that's going to do is allow me to pull up on that line, allowing him to put all his weight on that line instead of his other foot. And then he'll have to traditionally raise himself with the prusiks using that loop that his hand was on over his arm up to his shoulder so that he doesn't fall.
Yeah.
And
not an easy task, but
it's achievable.
Sure.
I've done it before. It works.
Yeah.
And once you're at the top, I would say take 5 or 10 minutes to rest and recover from that, because it will be very painful. However, the hardest part is gone.
There was a brief moment there where I thought you were going to say, let's cook up something else to eat.
And look, depending on how he feels.
Maybe,
and it is it can be a very tiring thing. When you're lifting someone whose weight is basically equal to your own, that does take a lot of energy out of you. And to best affect your survival, you should stay fueled. So I would honestly advise to cook up another something to eat. You've got plenty of food with you because the rations are very generous, and you always carry multiple of them, even if you're only going out for a little walk for half an hour.
Yeah,
prepare as if you're not able to come back, because, as we've always said, it's better to have and not need than need and not have.
Yeah,
So,
well said.
So we've had a little refresher at the top, had a bite to eat, rehydrated.
Yeah.
Now I need to make improvised crutches. And the best way we find of doing this is with some sticks. So get some nice long sticks of a suitable length, then get another stick you can cut up and use paracord and your knife to notch and position to effectively form an inverted triangle where the point is aiming downwards either side of the main stick, with the flat top part, which is going to go under the armpit, hard against that vertical long stick.
Yeah.
Tie that all in place using a knife to make notches so ropes don't slide off. Make 2 of them.
Now that I think about it,
You've got improvised
I was
crutches.
going to say, we might want to show that at one stage or another. We'll show you how to make
We will show you guys how to make some improvised crutches once we can get back to the bush, but at the moment it's summer, high fire danger. Bush is not a place you want to be at this time of the year.
if you can avoid it. But yeah, so in essence, long stick, something that sits from your buddy's underarm down to the ground, with across the top there another length of stick, say about yay long, having the rope going down, triangle, right, tied off, so that way it's all going to stay as one assembly. This stick here is going to be notched either end to allow that rope to come through. You know, we're notched in the center there, so it's going to be stable on that longer stick. You're also going to notch the bottom there as well, so that way the friction is going to destroy or degrade the rope as you're walking. Make 2 of those, so you've got a pair of them. Your buddy's on 1 foot, able to move like that. What are you going to do about his pack?
Well,
You're going to make him carry it?
with his pack, there's a very simple solution for that. One, in a lot of cases, if it's not too bad an injury, they can still wear it and move around on crutches because the pack should be narrow. Anyone who's got a good pack for hiking will always ensure that pack is not wider than their back, so their elbows won't be bashing against it.
Yeah, very true.
As such, it's not in the way. If, however, due to the weight of the pack or your mate's internal sense of balance being put off by the injury, what can be done is you can actually you can tie the pack to a stick, which you can gently lash from here underneath the opposite arm and around, so it's supported by your buddy at that end, and then you can support with your hand the other end of the stick, and the 2 of you can carry that out. Sometimes you may have to just abandon the pack and come back for it later.
Yeah, all fair items, again, depending on how far away you are.
However, I do advise, if you're going to abandon the pack, take any water and food and first aid equipment out of it that you can, as well as any blades.
Yeah, combine any packs.
They're absolutely essential, and if you don't combine them, you're just putting the both of you in further danger.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, the good news is that after Survival has made his numerous meals, there's probably a little bit less in the pack that needs to be carried. But no, I guess what you said is right. So you've assessed the situation, you've jumped down, helped your mate with the first aid, had a bite to eat to replenish energy, gotten him to the top of the drop face, created the means of movement. So your buddy with the crutches,
whilst
as well
still
as
replenishing energy.
Yeah, replenishing
because
energy.
it takes a lot of energy
Yep.
helping someone ascend when injured.
Now, would there ever be a situation where once you've reached the top there, depending on perhaps distance from camp, that you might decide that with the rope and tarp available in your 72-hour pack, that you might actually set up an improvised camp?
This is what I was
while you're
touching
there?
on.
Yep.
So we get away from the cliff face because remember, guys, exposure kills. Ideally, like they say in a lot of manuals, you don't want to be in the valley because it's cold. You don't want to be up on the top of a ridge or a cliff because it's too exposed. Usually you want to be around 2/3 of the way up from the floor of the valley. So what we're going to do is, whilst transporting both the mate, the pack, yourself and your pack, you want to get to that approximately 1/3 down from the top of the ridge you're on. So you want to be 2/3 up from ground level. And once we get to that location, once we get to that level, we want to find a nice area that's flat enough that we can camp. And then we'll set up an improvised bush camp for the night, because given what's happened, first thing that your mate needs to do is rest. And if your mate doesn't rest, it's just going to make the injury so much worse. An aggravated injury never heals well and will slow progress dramatically. and depending on where you are, your mates may already come looking for you because you're not back at the time you said you would be, or they'll be expecting you back in the next morning, because everyone knows it's best to gather everything you've got, calm down, assess the situation, and make a safe emergency camp than it is to try and rush back in the dark to your main camp.
Yeah.
A lot of people die trying to find camp because they either never find it, slip and break their neck, or get taken by some animal who thinks they're food.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's something else that we might want to touch on, that I guess comes as a given when giving this scenario, but I guess perhaps we should have mentioned it. Before you leave, right? Obviously there's a case of wanting to stay together as a group, because there are safety in numbers and the like. Obviously 4 packs are better than 2 packs, 2 packs are better than 1 pack. But when you are going to leave at any point in time, whether it's going from your home base and then going camping, you want someone to know where you're going, what time you're expected back. So if anything were to happen, they know, where they are, that they should contact emergency services. And then again, doubling down on that idea, if you and your buddies are now out in the bush, if you're going to disembark on your own little journey with either your buddy or by yourself even, you want them to understand what your plan is, the general direction that you're looking to walk, how far you're looking to go, or how far you're looking to walk, how long you're going to be out there, so that if there is any variation to plan, they then understand that they might need to take action on their part. So if, for example, this scenario were to happen earlier in the day, and maybe it's happened around about lunchtime, and you said you're going to be gone until dusk, it gets to dusk and they haven't heard from you, then obviously during that evening they're going to be saying, okay, he's probably out there, something has probably happened, we should hopefully see him by lunchtime tomorrow. Otherwise, we're going to want to contact either emergency services, or depending again on what their survival knowledge is, they might want to take that same track to see if they can come across you. And that also means that when you are doubling back, coming down the ridge, finding that place to set up your improvised camp, you don't want to stray too far from your original plan. If possible, doubling back on the track that you already know towards camp
is likely to have you run into your buddies or into emergency services looking for you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the best thing to do. So obviously, just to add to what you were saying before about when you're setting up your improvised
So with
camp.
our camp, one of the things I would always advise is leave a piece of blaze orange clothing, maybe some pebbles on it with an arrow pointing to the direction where you are, because the last thing you want to do is camp on that track, because that track is usually
of course,
along the spine of a spur or the spine of a ridge, extremely exposed. But if you can at least direct people to where you are with an obvious man-made improvised sign, then you'll be found.
And again, we can't say this enough really, but depending on your own level of understanding of the bush, on your own understanding of the ways that you can affect your survival, and of course the people that you surround yourself with when you go out and about, that should also affect the types of risks that you're taking. There are obviously guys that are in the SAS and that, and if you drop them out into the middle of some unknown location and you gave them a single knife, they'll be able to construct something to give themselves shelter. They'll be able to hunt and kill something to make sure they've got food and sustenance. They'll be able to make fire in the snow, all that kind of stuff. But if you're not Bear Grylls, then just make sure that you're playing it safe. Make sure that if you and a buddy are going to go out on these walks, that you're not planning on going out for 3 or 4 days and leaving your buddies at base camp. Just be sensible about all that kind of stuff. I think that's all I wanted to say on that note.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? So you've assessed the situation, you've gotten yourself to an improvised base camp, you've created a form of movement, you've now bedded down for the night, you've woken up. Anything in particular doing in the morning?
Okay, first thing in the morning is you're getting your buddy ready to travel, because you're going to return to the main track and you're going to do your best to return back to base camp. So you want to get your buddy ready and get your buddy back to the main trail. Then you need to get your stuff back to the main trail. Once you're back at the main trail, the first thing you want to do is any signs to indicate where you're actually camped for the night, pack them up. Don't leave them there. If if you returned safely back to your base camp and went home, and then someone else went missing out there, that could lead a search party on the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So pack up your signs and start to return home.
Yeah.
And once you get back to your base camp, I would honestly look at potentially getting, depending how severe the injuries were,
Yeah.
if they're severe enough, I'd be looking at getting an ambulance there to get proper medical attention. If it's nothing too major, it's just, you know, sprain, some cuts and grazes, bruising, just a lot of pain, then you should be right to just help get your mate back to your vehicle and get home and rest him up.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like I said, it's all about assessing the situation and doing what's best for the group. So, I mean, you know, if your buddy really just wanted to, to put a foot up, maybe when you get back to the base camp, again, depending on what items you're taking with you, maybe you guys have ice, the ability to make ice at the base camp. Maybe if he's able to relax, put a bit of ice on it, if you've got another day, maybe he's happy to chill out, whatever it is. But again, assess the situation.
Another good thing if you can't make ice is if you've got a shallow, fast-flowing river, that can be some extremely cold water, especially at high elevations.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a great little improvised replacement for ice.
Yeah. Note, here's a little side note, right? If you're ever out in the bush and you've got some items that need to be refrigerated in some form or another.
Ah, yes, the good old bush refrigerator.
100%. You can take that same cold, fast-flowing river water.
Dam a little section off.
Yeah.
Chuck some things you want to keep cold into a plastic shopping bag, like supermarket bag. Put that into the water. Ensure that a heavy stone is holding it in place, because if all of a sudden a flash surge of water comes down the river, you don't want to get washed away. Come back the next morning, it'll be colder than you put it in.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you can also attach that bag to, say, a stick, for example.
Or tie it with a cord to a tree.
Yeah. Numbers of different things you can do with it.
But fast-flowing water, that will act like a beautiful refrigerator and keep things like eggs and chicken cold.
Same note, if you find yourself, you know, for whatever reason, in that cold, fast-flowing water and you don't want to be, it's very important that to keep your body level at the appropriate temperature, you get out of that water, get yourself dry. But that's stuff that we'll probably
in terms of getting dry, just to quickly touch on that, remove all clothes possible, start a fire, dry your clothes out, but first and foremost, dry yourself off just with a radiant heat from the fire. Get warm.
Yeah.
You know, the last thing you want is hypothermia.
Yeah, 100%. But again, this is one of those things, that's why we started the channel. You can talk for hours on this kind of stuff, different avenues, different tangential ideas. But anyway, so look, it sounds like you covered the survival aspect of that really well done. You got back to base camp now. You guys have decided you're going to pack the place up and get out of there. Your buddy doesn't need too much help. He doesn't need an ambulance, so that's fine. You guys are going to jump in the cars and get back to the town, mate. Honestly, this is why I keep him around, because if for whatever reason I'm a dunce and I fall off, you know, go for a bit of a spill and hurt my ankle, I know that he's got my back.
There's one good thing also to note: if the injuries aren't too severe, you don't have to pack up. You can stay out there for a bit longer. Just extend your trip a little bit. And if that means pulling a couple extra rations out of the back of the vehicle, which you've thrown in case you choose to extend your trip, or if one of you has to rush back to town to get some more rations, by all means, do it. Little trip out to resupply, never hurt anyone.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, stay safe out there, and keep those emails coming. We've got a couple other videos that we want to make based on some of the feedback that we've gotten, but you'll see those in the pipe works.